if you try to compare yourself with others based on how much money, like how we define success basically externally, you will never be satisfied and happy.
Welcome to Students Like Me. Students Like Me is a podcast by the MBA student community at Imperial College Business School. We invite fascinating people from all different MBA programs of Imperial to talk about their student lives, their thoughts, and how they learn. I am Mutita Gimakom, your host from the Global MBA program January 2022 cohort. My guest today is Samantha Yuen. Samantha is the Senior Global Communications Manager at Astellas Pharma in Tokyo. Here is our interview. Samantha, very happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's really happy to join the podcast today.
All right, Samantha, how would you like to introduce yourself to our MBA peers?
Well, I think in a nutshell, I am a full-time worker, full-time mom slash you can call it part-time MBA, but I see it very full-time as well in crystal clear state. So here I am in a nutshell.
Okay, and can you also tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Right. So I'm originally from Hong Kong and I moved to Japan, currently living in Tokyo slightly over 3 years ago. And throughout my entire career, I've been focusing on communications. So currently I'm working mainly for internal communications for a pharmaceutical company called Astellas. And just helping the company how to translate the startup business strategies to our employees in a more sensible and easy to understand manner.
It sounds like a challenging job.
Yes and no. I worked for another Japanese company before. That was more challenging because in Japan, they sort of expect you to be very fluent in Japanese, but I am not. And especially working for communications role, they're not just requiring you having fluent Japanese. They need you to be expert in Japanese because communications, like you need to be very fluent and you're very good at that language. And so it was challenging for me in my first job, and because I will be focusing mainly on English. And now working for my current company, our business language in my current company is now becoming English. So it's easier for me because mainly all the content and messages I create will be in English. And I also find it easier as I communicate with my colleagues in Japan because they know I'm not fluent in Japanese, but not that I don't understand them. And they will try their best to explain in English. But of course, if they cannot express themselves clearly, they can also say in Japanese. So that is, language itself is one thing, but mindset is another thing because I find out executives in Japan, in general, like management in Japan, are very different in a way that how they communicate compared to the West. Because as I work for other UK or German companies, it's like executives are trying to be more transparent, more vulnerable, and really trying to engage with the employees, but completely different in Japan because the way that they work is very fatherly figures, and then people are listening to others. And now I'm trying to help the executives to transform this sort of culture in the company.
Speaking of the mindset, I think I see it on your LinkedIn. On your headlines, builds bridges through communications. So yeah. Can you tell us what does that mean?
I think that is my strong point in my career because especially I lived and worked in Hong Kong for most of my life, and I've been like working for a lot of regional roles and global roles as well. So I was able to really engage and talk to people from multiple cultures, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the person is able to be understanding and be communicating, building bridges. And the strength that I find myself is having that kind of empathy and understanding of others, because I'm trying to always just put myself in their shoes and to understand what would be their struggles. And especially, I studied in the US before, and now I live in Japan, and I definitely can feel that that kind of like a newcomer sort of feelings, and what would that person think or feel if I forcefully give them new things. So I've been really, really trying to be sensitive whenever I do communicate in that aspect. So far I have been doing pretty good in that aspect, and trying to just minimize and reduce that kind of confusion between colleagues or friends or people in general from different cultures or languages, so that they understand not just from a common language itself, but they understand also from the context and what is the underlying meaning.
Wow. And I also see that you have been in global communications for so long, and you have been a communicator for so long. Can you tell us, why do you love this job?
I love it just because when I first joined, it was I started my career in a PR agency first, and then it was just so glam, and then people were like fun because when you first work in PR, it was a lot of events, and then everything you see is like people dress up so nice and just holding a glass of champagne and then just like having event, having fun, and that attracts me. And but once you get into the industry, it was just, I love the fast pace. It's just things keeps on changing, and then you get to experience everything in the first hand. Especially working for this sort of industry or functions, I am able to meet people from every single walk of life, like whether they're C-suite level executives or whether they're engineers or designers. I'm able to connect all these dots, and even to customers. And I enjoy it because I get to learn and know about them and their backgrounds, and also to just to get myself better, because as I know more people, talk to more people, it also helps me as a person how to communicate to different sort of people in my career as well.
Awesome. And with that in mind, can you talk about some of the current projects that you are doing and you're excited about?
Definitely. So currently my company is in the second phase of their transformation right now. And I joined just rightly before the second phase of the transformation. And I'm mainly responsible for communication, obviously, but communicating in terms of cultural transformation, because transformation happens to many companies, to be honest. It's just one of the strategies, business strategies. But I have experienced personally, and also I witnessed a lot from my career as well, is whenever a company launch some sort of a new strategy, and not necessarily employees are on board, and not necessarily they understand, but they just sort of forced to join whatever the company's direction is. And because my company right now, the transformation is huge. We are changing from a traditional pharmaceutical industry to a life science sort of innovators. So from this transition is huge, and especially for a company with like decades and actually centuries long of history, it's hard for people to transition in that way. Especially Japan is still very common. We call it employment for life. So basically is as they join from a fresh graduate, and then they will work until they retire. So a lot of them, they're not used to that kind of pace of change. So my role is to make sure that I cannot guarantee everyone will be on board, because it's not possible, but at least most of them will be on board with us, and to fully understand and to transform willingly and wholeheartedly. So it was a challenging job, because it's very different from my previous roles as external communications, because you can see the result immediately. But when you talk about internal sort of cultural transformation and helping our colleagues to be on board, it takes years. And I am expecting it will take 3 to 5 years in order to do that. And especially, I think we were in organizational behavior course earlier, and we talked about change.
Yeah.
And that exactly resonate with what I'm doing right now. This change really happens like in a more long-term basis, but definitely is now that kind of knowledge locked in my head and sort of remind me that success doesn't happen overnight, and don't celebrate your little milestone right away, and has to be being very mindful of every single steps you take, and look back again, and then to see what kind of course that you would need to change. And I think that was a good knowledge for me to understand, and I enjoy it really much. It's like I can apply from the knowledge from the course directly to my work, because as a transformation ongoing, like we sort of kind of every functions are trying to celebrate all the little success. And then people felt like, okay, we're done, like let's move on and continue my own day-to-day work. That happen every day, and my role is to continue to remind them we have, hey, we still need your help, like that kind of communication. So it's interesting.
Like it really requires you a lot of grit in your work.
Great. Yeah. That's sort of yeah.
Right. And let's talk about your MBA student life. Can you tell us about your motivation to take the MBA program?
It's actually funny. I never thought I would take MBA, because when I graduated like 13-14 years ago from college, I was at that time I was major in international relations. And naturally, because I wanted to develop and progress my career in PR, in public relations, so my immediate thought would be having my next step to dive into communications course.
Yeah.
As time goes by, I looked into it and I felt like something's missing there. It's like when I look at all the course materials and also even the tutors, like I think I can even like deliver this course by myself. It's like I know all this content. Why do I need to pay this kind of money to learn something that I already know? So, and then as I joined my Astellas, my current employer, and it seems like everyone has an MBA, and then a lot of people start to talk about it, and then I was like, okay, maybe I can look into it and take a look. And the more I look into it, because I think like when I never thought I would be taking MBA, because first I work for communications. I always like to work behind the scenes. It's like even you think it's glamorous jobs, but at the end you're helping the executive to shape themselves. So I never thought I would be one of them in the future. That's one thing. And secondly is finance or anything related to numbers intimidate me. And I have a lot of friends that take MBA before, and they were all saying it was scary. And so I felt like that was automatically like a gate for me. It's like, don't go there, it's dangerous. So
is it
when
because you already experienced it to some extent? What do you think now?
It's dangerous. I'm not going to deny it. It's dangerous. I'm definitely not a number person. It took me like the suggested hours on Incentive, saying like 8 hours for that course. It took me 3 times or 4 times to finish the accounting program, which is crazy. Especially in the first few weeks, because they're trying to give you a lot of context, and you can definitely feel like is for people who have some knowledge that will be easy, but for me, I have zero knowledge, and even every single terms to me is a new thing. I don't understand that at all. So it took me triple the time to absorb the languages, and then like the language of accounting, which is the accounting course we just took, it took me really 3 to 4 times more to spend to study the courses, just because I'm not familiar with anything related to that subjects. And I needed to read a lot more reference books, and I read more articles, as well as later on I find out I can watch YouTube videos on that, which is great. I highly recommend people, if they don't have accounting background, watch YouTube's. It's actually better. It's easier. It saves a lot more time later on for me. And so it was challenging, because the other subjects took me less hours, but then accounting courses took me a lot more hours. So it was in the beginning it was dreading because I knew that even it says it's 8 hours and I knew that I need to take more time in that, and I sort of like trying to like hold it. Let's do other subject first. So it was not easy, but you know what? We get over it. So congratulations to me.
Exactly. Congratulations to everyone here, to the listeners, to us.
Of course.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah. And how do you feel now? Like after you have tried to learn like 4/4 over the course?
I definitely learned something new, and because it's interesting, like when you look at accounting, we learn about annual reports, right? And actually, I work a lot annual reports in my life, not the number part. I work a lot on the narrative part.
You are.
So
you are the guys who write
yes,
the beautiful parts, right?
yes.
That's right.
I actually know what is annual report is. So I never, and I actually know what somehow some of the numbers I know how to. I don't want to say manipulate, but I know how to communicate easily to our external stakeholders. So I involve a lot in annual report writing because as a communications, and and because actually for annual report itself is like I think over 70% are narratives and writing, and then the rest of the 30% is just about numbers, and because in my career I'm trained to see like major significant numbers like operating profit, and those are easier for me just to know and how to write a better story to tell our stakeholders. But definitely with this course, it helped me to understand not just from the numbers perspective, but to understand those like underlying like operating profit margin, for example. I did not know about that, like looking at the percentage wise that you need to do calculation. And that was quite eye-opening because it helped me also personally, because as I invest, is I purely just look at the numbers listed on the dashboard, like a finance dashboard. Basically is like what is the return of investment, and what is the interest rate, and what is dividend percentage, and that's the major like numbers for me to refer to as I invest. But now I learn more things now from the accounting course. It's also helped me to okay, maybe I can do some sort of a calculation for these financial reports for my own use. And that's one thing is interesting. The other thing that I find interesting is also as I work in my current company, and we were talking about a lot of budget, and it gave me a better lens to see that how to allocate budget fairly based on the resources that you have and based on the needs the company have, and it's really eye-opening. Because I'm no longer saying that I don't have enough budget to do this and that, but now I can see from a bigger lens to understand that, oh, actually this is not necessary and this is useful and I should put more resources over there. And I find it really, really useful from this course for my own.
It sounds like it enhanced your job a lot.
Definitely. I try to, yeah.
And why did you choose to do your MBA at Imperial?
Flexibility is definitely the main thing for me, because I wanted to continue to work rather than give up my work and then study. So that's one thing. I need to be flexible to study anywhere. And of course I also look for a weekend MBA program in Japan or somewhere in Asia, but because with COVID it's not possible to do physical learning at this moment, at least in Asia. So so that's why I'm choosing like online program, but also have some sort of potential or possibility to allow you to take in-person courses. And to be honest, right now there's not a lot of options in the market. So once if any prospective students, if you want to take a look online, is really not a lot of options. And there are several schools stands out. And when you look into it and compare to like university ratings and the number of students teachers ratios, international students ratio, and also obviously for people who take MBA, you wanted to know is what would be your future income range after you graduate. So all these factors, when you combine it, and then Imperial just stands out, and I really proud to be one of the students here in Imperial.
Yeah, me too. Can you tell us about what you hope to learn or accomplish from taking an MBA?
I think one of the reasons I also learn trying to get out of the MBA is to learn some business knowledge, especially related to strategies, because I worked in communications for a good long time now, and the more I worked into it, and I trying to help the company to shape the language and translate it into a more common, easy to understand language to our colleagues, and I find out that there's always like some sort of things is like the strategy part. I think it can be done better, or I felt like it can be created in a way more easy to understand, and I think that motivates me to trying to understand how the company shape the strategies, and sort of help me to see maybe after finishing a course, I can also change my career to more corporate strategy side, and then to help shape the company strategies for a more sustainable way, and not always like driving change like constantly. So so definitely this is one of my sort of a mainstream courses that I wanted to take in the MBA courses, and who knows, like maybe in the future I will have my own business as well. So that would definitely help me to see what sort of skills that I lack, and help me to sharpen that up as well.
Yeah, actually, before you said that maybe you gonna have your own business as well, when I listened to you talking, it already gave me that feeling like, oh yeah, actually she could use all of these experiences and background to have her own communication agency.
Thank you for the
Yeah.
advice.
Okay, Samantha, what would you be doing if you were not doing your MBA at the moment?
I think I would just wasting my time just watching a lot of shows online. I guess is the MBA forced me to prioritize things that are important, and also to have a lot better time management. And now even in my sort of like a term break, and I am a little bit like, it's very chill now, I'm on holidays, but then I felt like, oh, I just felt like I'm like sort of wasting my time now. I need to fill that void. I guess it's the MBA has changed me in many ways.
Yeah, it trained us well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever struggled as a student during the MBA program?
Definitely. I guess it's the very beginning. We started our cohort in mid-January, I think. Yeah. At work, it was crazy. We had a lot of new communications approach launching at that period, and work was busy. And then second is my private life, like basically is my daughter. She's going to kindergarten soon at that time, so I was trying to prepare her as well at that stage, plus MBA. And MBA itself, it was already, I kind of expect there would be a lot of workload, but expecting versus practicing in reality is two things, and it was very overwhelming also because I haven't been really studying for a long time since I graduated from college. So it's like adapting to that sort of a student life approach, it's already like challenging. And but somehow it took me about 2 weeks to get used to that sort of rhythm, and trying to really prioritize and shuffle all my schedules basically around everything. Only 3 things in my life at the time, and it's just study, work, and family. That's it. Like nothing other than that in my schedule.
So apart from time management, how did you deal with it or that?
Well, because my work is actually, the time is really long, so I have a lot of meetings with my colleagues in the US and UK, and So I usually have very early morning meetings, like 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and it will stretch. Sometimes I have night meetings like from 9:30 until 11:30. So it's very common. But during the day, I'm actually quite free because it's sort of like a flexible hours. So I get used to those sort of like a midday hours to study and to read as much as I can. And because once my daughter finish her school, I would not be able to have that kind of time to study again until she goes to bed. So I use a lot in my during my lunch break and also my afternoon hours to study catch up, and then weekend will be my full day study basically. So because my husband will be free to take care of my daughter as well, and I will be able to dedicate it completely to my studies for Saturday and Sundays.
Okay. And any techniques that you use to help you learn?
I have an app called Notability. That is really, really useful because I can screen capture some of the pages and then just put it into the notes, and I can write things down and then just draft in my own notes is so useful for me because it sort of like because we read a lot of articles and many of the times I don't have that time and even memory to locate where those passages are. So writing it separately on another notes and helps me to crystallize the message that I just read, and also to process that kind of knowledge into my head. I find that super useful. And then the other thing that I liked is, I think I just described earlier, was YouTube. And YouTube is an amazing tool that there's a lot of learnings. Say, for example, like Tech Talk, talking about change management, and there's a lot of those kind of contents there. And also like accounting 101 type of courses, there's a lot of those materials on YouTube. Not necessarily those are like 100% equivalent to the course material we have. So what I do is I don't rely only on YouTube videos, but I have to cross-referencing it and to make sure that I learned some concept from there, but then as I read, it's easier for me to follow after that. So these will be my two major apps or tools I use as I study.
Let's talk about role models. Can we talk about some role models that you have?
I think my boss is definitely a very good role model for me. She is a super gentle, like a quiet lady. And especially in Japan, women in leadership position is so rare. And for people in those positions in Japan, usually they have to be very aggressive. And my boss doesn't look like that at all. And what amazed me is she is very good at her job, but she's also very good at her family. Like we have some sort of, we call it nomikai, like a drinking party. But we do it all online now. But her sons just join us in the call and talk together. It was fantastic because I all know that her work is also crazy because some of the calls that we join together as well. And so she also had very long working hours, but she still maintained that kind of really good relationship with her sons. Plus working very well at work.
Can you tell us about your motivation to take on the MBA?
Okay, so when I was in undergrad, my major was international relations. And as I wanted to progress my career into public relations, and obviously my thought would be advancing my studies in communications instead. But as life goes on, and I did apply for my Master of Communications course twice actually. And the first time I wasn't ready yet, and so I failed that for that school. And then the second time when I applied it, and I was looking at all the curriculums and all the courses, and I actually was not sure whether I fit to those courses anymore, because those classes is more like for really like fresh graduate. And at that time I already had a lot of experiences, and I know a lot of those coursework, like the kind of contents that the coursework requires. So I don't felt like I needed that communication course anymore. And but I have a lot of friends, they also had the MBA as well, and they also told me how useful the MBA are. But to me, I felt like as I work in communications, my role is always like working behind the scenes and helping shape the executives to communicate better externally. So I never felt like I needed a course, because I don't think I will be one of those people in the future. But as I joined my current company as stylist, and then it feels like everyone has like MBA, basically, like all the leadership, they have MBAs. And it may not be required, but it's sort of saying that is better, it's preferred. And that makes me wonder, like, maybe I should study something. And as I look around and look into more details about MBA, and I was looking, there's a lot of things other than the courses that I was intimidated by, such as finance or accounting, that kind of numbers related courses. But there are a lot more courses that were interesting for me that I don't know, and I really want to learn. So and I think that is the motivation for me to get an MBA, and that was just purely amazing to me. And that is sort of my role model for my future. Is like, I want to be good at what I'm doing, but I'm also wanted to not sacrifice my job to my family, because I don't see why we cannot have both. So I wanted to take that balance very well, and I've been very careful on that.
And let's talk about success in general. So what does success mean to you, Samantha?
I don't measure success by like position or how much money you make. Of course, that is obvious a sign to show a person's success. But to me, is the success that you have is more like I internalize it, is like I become more knowledgeable to the field that I did not know about anything beforehand, and I will be successful in a way that I am able to apply those knowledge I learned to help others. Because I work in communications, and I have been very fortunate that I have a lot of mentors along my career, and I find it really helpful that I can utilize my knowledge and then to help my next generations, basically. So I've been mentoring my colleagues right now, but I hope that for what I learned, whether through the MBA courses or through my career, will be helpful to others, and to apply the knowledge that will be benefiting their life.
Wow, that's really nice. I also love helping others. We have this in common. Let's help each other from now on.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. And because you mentioned about a lot of mentors that you have in your life, what is one of the best advice that you got from your mentors?
Let me really think. I think the best advice is somehow is not work or skill set related. It's more like how you see life. There are always people smarter than you, younger than you. If you try to compare yourself with others based on how much money, like how we define success, basically externally, you will never be satisfied and happy. And that really stays out to me, because I have been a very competitive sort of a students growing up, and I think it's Asian Chinese thing, I don't know. And so having that sort of advice and like a piece of wisdom staying with me now, and I think it really resonates, because I cannot compete with others ongoingly, is no way. And at the end is, why do I need to compete with those? Because it's just mostly because of my self-esteem, my pride. And once I get out of that kind of mindset, and it's actually easier for me just to do things that I like, things I enjoy, and things that I can help others, and automatically somehow things get smoother, and then I get happier and I get more satisfied. So I really take that sort of piece of wisdom as my lifelong sort of a quote or education for me as well.
Nice. Thank you for sharing with us. What do you do to make you feel relaxed?
I like watching random videos online.
What is that?
Um, if anyone knows about a show called Dr. Pimple Popper,
Uh-huh.
that's my go-to to distress. So it's basically anything yucky, gunky, squeezing out of a person's body. I love watching that shows. And don't laugh me that there are millions,
Uh-huh.
like you can look
I
like
know.
100 million sort of views on some of those videos. So I'm one of that. I'm not.
Uh,
I I'm
I know. I
proudly
know.
saying that I'm one of those. So
Yeah.
those sort of videos my go-to for de-stress because there was a short
Uh-huh.
videos and I don't need to. It's nothing related to my life, but that's why I can have some sort of like out of zone sort of a moment to distress. And
Yeah.
of course I do sports, but yeah, I like those videos more than sports.
Wow. Okay, you make me want to check it out. So could you send me some later? Okay, like
Of
I have to
course.
check it out. Yeah.
Of
Okay.
course.
Is there anything I didn't ask you and you want to tell us?
I think is if anyone wants to understand about how to work in Japan, and I'm happy to share. It's just an interesting
Mhm.
uh, journey to me as a foreigner living and working in Japan.
Okay, and how do people reach out to you?
They can reach out to me through a link. You can just search my name, and under my pictures, you can see is Imperial College. That kind of description.
Samantha, thank you very much for sharing your stories and perspectives with us. We really, really appreciate talking with you today, and thank you for your time out of your busy schedule. Wish you all the best for your success and your degree. Really looking forward to seeing your achievements. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and it was fun to talk to you too.
Thank you again to Samantha for joining us, and more stories from students like me will be coming in the next episode.